All right. Hi and welcome, everyone. This is Pamela from Ajala Digital, and we're here today with Devin Thomas from Neptune Design, live from South Africa. Hi, Devin.
Hey, how you doing? I'm so happy to be here.
I'm doing great. That's an amazing energy, and I'm so happy to have you here today. So, this is going to be probably a conversation of like two Google Ads people nerding out with each other about how to optimize campaigns better. So we'll try to keep it on like general vocabularies that everybody can follow, even those who may not yet be that far in the journey, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So just quickly about you a little bit more. So Devin has been working with Google Ads for now, I think it's more than 6 years already. And so he definitely is a pro when it comes to anything around like troubleshooting, creating strategies, building brand campaigns, creating successful YouTube campaigns, keyword research and planning. So, whatever it is around Google Ads and analytics, he sleeps, eats, drinks it probably. And so, anytime you ask him, you will get a response that will probably help you grow your business. So, I'm super excited to be chatting with you today. Tell us a bit more about how you got into Google Ads.
Oh, first of all, I just have to say thank you for having me on the show. I was really hyped for this. Like the whole week, I was like, oh man, it's gonna be so much fun hanging out with Pamela. And yeah, when I started off, I didn't even know anything about Google Ads or anything about digital marketing. I was just basically helping people and building websites for a lot of my clients. And I noticed they all had one common problem, which was we made them this beautiful website. And then after that, I would ask them, have you gotten any sales? How's the business doing? And they'd say, I don't even know where to start when it comes to all of this marketing stuff. So I said, you know what I want to help somebody actually progress from just having the website to actually making sales and making conversions. And that's when I really fell in love with Google Ads. Man, it was beautiful.
So, love at first sight.
Yeah, well, love at first invoice.
Hey, we're business people. That's all right.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Definitely, yeah.
I always say when whatever you do has value for other people, you definitely have a good right to charge for it, right?
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
awesome. Now, what was like one of the first clients businesses that you remember where who you helped grow with Google Ads that you like talk about as freely as you want?
Okay, so there's so many that come to mind, but one of my favorite stories was I had an electrician in Cape Town, and basically the electrician said, "Look, Devin, I don't know anything about this digital marketing stuff. I've tried Google Ads and I've just gotten so many bad leads, so many leads that weren't really able to afford my services. And what I'd really love to do is have a customer that basically is interested in what I do and I can do a big electrical wiring job." And I said to him, describe your ideal client, describe your perfect client, the perfect you would love to have, describe your dream client. So he says to me, I would love to have one of the restaurants on the V&A waterfront in Cape Town. Because I'm close to there. And if I could land a job like that, I would really love it. And within a week and a half, I had gotten him a lead from a restaurant right on the water at the V&A waterfront, and he was over the moon. He didn't even think it was possible, but with the right targeting and if you focus properly and if you know your stuff, you can definitely do that type of thing. So that for me was just a beautiful moment.
That's wonderful. I mean, he probably was ready for it because it sounds like he really, like, if I use some of this wording, like manifested it. So it's great when,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
the client's like really, really ready and is able to support the kind of work and energy that you put in, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, what would be your typical response if someone asked you, how do I optimize Google Ads campaigns?
Okay, so it's a bit of a loaded question. So one thing I would love to do with that person, and one thing I always advise is we first need to assess basically three things. You need to know where your ideal clients are, how they spend their day, and you also need to understand what they're searching for. And basically, you need to see how you can fit into their lives. And that's where optimization begins. I'll give you an example. There's no point in running a LinkedIn ad if none of your clients are on LinkedIn. With Google Ads as well, there's no point in optimizing a certain type of ad if that's not what your customer is into, or if that's not where your customer is. So, what I would advise somebody when I say start with optimizing is start off with a picture in your mind of who your client is, where they spend their day, and then work your way backwards to what they would be searching on Google, maybe the videos they would be watching, maybe the keywords that they'd be interested in. Like, kind of work your way backwards. But first, take that vital 30 minutes to actually have empathy and understand who you're marketing to. That's where optimization really begins for me.
Absolutely. And so I think you touched on a very good point. It's like, there's definitely businesses where people may not be yet searching for the product or service because they may not be aware of the fact that they need it or that it exists. So, what would you advise people to do in that case?
Okay, so then you want to start off with awareness. You want to say, hey, I'm here. So you would probably have to start off with some kind of display or YouTube ad, because we want to attract people and we want to tell them about who we are. Look, no one's going to search for your business if they don't know you exist, right? No one's going to search for glow in the dark 3D glasses if they don't know that you could actually find that technology. So you want to expose people through that, and you want to start off then with your YouTube or your display campaigns and really explain to people why they need this and why it's important to them.
That's awesome. Now, in terms of like YouTube and display campaigns, like I always tell people that display campaigns are somewhat similar to Facebook, where you're trying to catch people in moments where they don't yet know that they need you. So they're still at like the awareness and like discovery stage. Now, how do you measure success at that point?
All right. So let's say you're running a display campaign, right? Which, first of all, I am not a fan. I would rather go down the YouTube route. But let's say you are running a display campaign, right? You can measure it through impressions, but that's just a very it's not really going to tell you anything. So for example, if 1 million people saw your ad, yay, congratulations, 1 million people saw your ad. There's it really doesn't really help move your business forward. But what you can do is you could start measuring the time that those people spend on your website, your bounce rate, your session durations, and that's going to help you understand if you are targeting the type of people with your display ads that are really interested and keen to find out more about you, or if you're just targeting people that stick around for like 3 seconds on your website and they just go away, then you know that these could just be accidental clicks on your ads from just mobile gaming apps or any apps. So you really want to look at how long they're spending on your website and also how they're engaging on your website. Doesn't always have to be conversions, but we need to know that the ideal client is somewhat interested in what we're putting in front of them.
Absolutely. So, what do you like about optimizing campaigns in Google Ads in comparison, like maybe with other platforms, or what makes you really nerd out about it and be passionate about it?
Oh my gosh, what a question, Pamela. I love everything about it. You know what? I sat down and I told myself I'm going to optimize a campaign and I'm only going to spend 15 minutes. Okay. So I'm like, okay, dude, 15 minutes. I'm here. We're just going to optimize. We're just going to make sure everything is okay. And then I started diving in and I started looking at the keywords and I started looking at the click through rates on the keywords. And I thought, you know what? If we could write great copy for this ad, then we can push up our CTRs. And all of a sudden, I find myself writing copy. And all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, once we get the click through rate right, what else could we fix? Maybe there's even better keywords. So I started diving into customer research. So for me, particularly, the thing that just makes me enjoy myself is just managing bids on keywords and just doing ad copy and just seeing how all of that beautiful process comes together. That's really where I spend most of my optimization time, and that's really what I enjoy. And also there's weird things that happen, like for example, if you spend time in your location report, a lot of people don't do this, but your location report is actually gold because you can see the conversion rates between different cities, different states, different towns. So I had this one client in, I think she was in Miami,
Mm.
and we looked at her Google ads and we found that people on basically in Texas were 3 times more likely to convert than any other state in the United States. So that kind of showed me that where we want to be spending the majority of the budget is in Texas because that state has the highest conversion rate. So, man, I can go all day. I can spend all day in a Google Ads campaign, no problem. And I'm sure you can too.
Yeah, it does remind me of like a conversation I had recently with a client where we were almost done with the meeting, but then we started to look into like analytics for certain things. And we went like from like location report to the device report to like interest and so on. And then he ended up using those insights for like, his Facebook campaigns and so on. So yeah, like it's very easy to go from one thing to another. So how do you then like kind of like catch yourself and not change too many things at once?
Okay, so I have a policy. My policy is make a change, wait a week. Make a change, wait a week. Because a lot of business owners, I find, make this mistake, and I made it too, whereby you get into Google Ads and you think that you should change so many things about an ad because you're trying to make it better. But the problem is you're doing this only after like 10 clicks or 15 clicks or 20 clicks because you think that's enough data for you to kind of know what's going on in the campaign. And the truth is, it's not. You need about 300 to 400 clicks, maybe even more, to have that statistical significance. So, what I tend to do is go into account, I make a big change, and then I have patience, and this, which is very hard for me, by the way. I have patience for about a week. I sit back, and then after that, I go through and I analyze the data and I try and see, did I actually improve the campaign in a meaningful way? If not, I could always just go back and try something new.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very good point. Now we have a question from Nico Lawrence, and I want to get your take on it, and then of course I'll add to it as well. So he's asking, what's your daily optimization? So which things do you do in your client's ad account every few days?
I don't spend every few days in my client's ad account. I spend literally, if I enjoy myself, this is me personally, if I want to go into it, I'll spend like 3 hours a week. But minimum, I spend about 20 minutes a day in a client's account. That's really all that you need. Because I feel that, you know, as you're trying to optimize a campaign and as you're going through things, you need to always keep in mind that if you make all of these changes, if you keep on going in there and optimizing, you're basically doing the work and then undoing the work. So what you want to do is you want to go and look for something that's going to give you 80% of the results with only 20% of the effort. And what I tend to find is focusing on ad copy and making sure that my bids are competitive, but I'm not overbidding on keywords. That is usually where I spend most of my time. So I would come in, make sure the ad copy is connecting to the ideal client, and make sure that the bids are somewhat competitive. And I would leave it at that. And I just check in again next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's super important and one of the biggest mistakes I see people do as well. And thank you again, Nico, for that question, because I think that's so important to like raise that topic and to bring more awareness to it, because way too many people spend way too much time on the ad accounts, and it's such a pity because it's such a waste of their own time, and they add so much hassle to the schedule, which doesn't have to be. And one of the main reasons why you shouldn't go in dailies, because first of all, data takes a certain amount of time to be displayed correctly and to be shown accurately. And so for you to, for example, make adjustments based on same day data, yesterday's data might not be accurate at all, because you also don't have enough statistically relevant data, right? So if you look at, let's say, the ad schedule, you want to have at least a couple of weeks of data that you look at, right? And so by you going in daily, you can't observe yet really the impact that the changes have had, or else you end up making too many changes that the system then gets overwhelmed with, and you can't really track where it comes from. So your insights may be skewed, right? So Yeah, I could go on about this topic.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I just want to add to that as well. If you think about this, is the way I like to think about optimization, right? Let's say you're lost in the desert, okay? And you decide on your first day you're going to walk north. And then on your second day, you're like, no, north doesn't feel like a right direction. I'm going to go east. And then after your second day, you're like, no, but I feel like going south because it feels better like going south. What you're basically doing is you're making a very beautiful circle in the sand and you're going to get back to the same exact place. And with optimization, it's important to have the courage to be able to make the mistake and see the mistake in the data instead of thinking that you're going to catch every single mistake that you're going to make if you keep on working on your ad account every single day. Make the mistakes, enjoy the mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. And if you make a mistake, at least you'll be able to learn something. But don't fall into the trap of thinking that you're going to be perfect and perfectly optimize a campaign if you spend more time with it. It just doesn't work that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a very good comparison. Yeah, you're not going to get anywhere if you go with that direction. You're welcome, Niku. Absolutely. So, what do you feel like has become easier or more difficult about optimizing campaigns in the past 1 to 2 years in Google Ads?
I would say definitely the fact that phrase match is starting to be a little bit loose. Um, I'm seeing a lot of phrase match campaigns that are not really giving the clients the same results that they used to. And also the fact that, in the search terms report, we used to get a lot of good data about the searches that people are doing. But now there's about 27 to 35% of the search term report that doesn't show up anymore. So I would say that would be the difficult part. That's the part that I'm not enjoying now, is just not being able to see all of the data that's available to me. Um, as far as the optimization side goes, I pretty much enjoy everything. I love the fact that we could see all of the data everywhere. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Performance Max, but I think that's more my personal preference. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with them. I just find that personal Performance Max are very difficult to steer in a direction that I want to steer, and I'm a control freak, so there's a problem with that.
Very true. It's very true. Like, because what we end up doing most is like, I mean, in like performance max campaigns, you can put in different asset groups, but you just still don't get any reports. I know some people are trying to do that by like working with like APIs and so on. The easiest thing is then to split up the campaigns into those different like types and focuses on foci, I think is the plural here, on asset groups. But yeah, it's like a lot of like there's like a lot of things we just don't get an insight, like all that optimized target or whatever that Google tries to sneak
Yeah.
in. And yeah, it's
Totally, totally. And one thing as well, I went with a client yesterday, brand new client, and he said, I want to look through my asset reports and just see if you can get some insight. So we sit with the asset report and it shows the headline, and then it shows the headline is, I think the word they use is it's performing well and
yeah, yeah,
good.
exactly. Yeah,
And then the
yeah,
other one is medium, and the other one, and I'm like, well, I can't, there's no percentages here. There's no click through rates here. So what are we doing exactly? Like, what does low mean? Is low 0.0005% or is low
yeah,
5% click through rate? So I don't know. So that's the difficulties that I'm having with Performance Max right now.
yeah. I get that. I get that. Going back to the keywords, Shaima's asking, what's the best match type to use to generate more leads?
Oh, I love this question. Wherever you are, Shana, high five. All right. So when you are working with match types, the big misconception is that you only focus on a certain one, like your exact match or your phrase match or your broad match, right? So a lot of people will say, no, broad match is not that good because you're going to show up for all of these different searches, so only use phrase match. And the next person is going to say, well, if you're showing up for phrase match, maybe you should show up for the exact amount of searches. So maybe exact match should be a better one, because then whatever they search for, they're going to search exactly for what you want. My approach is slightly different. I say, if you're going broad match, bid very low on the broad match keywords because there is still some value there. You still get people searching for things, and you're not going to be able to think about every single thing that somebody's searching for. And when you're going to go phrase match, you want to put your money towards the phrase match keywords that are actually bringing in the money. So go aggressive over there. And exact match, you can have exact match keywords. They always work, but you might find them very expensive. Now, using this strategy, if you use broad, phrase, and exact match, you're going to find that your cost per conversion actually starts trending down lower because your broad match keywords, although we don't like them, they actually tend to be the cheapest CPCs that you find. So go very light. I'm not saying like pay all of your money or all of your budget towards broad match, but try and keep it balanced between all of them because you need all of them.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think what I also want to add to that is like, what kind of leads are we talking about, right? Because leads can be very broad. It can be that we'd want them to call us, that we'd want them to fill out a form, that they'd want to register for something, right? And then, of course, depending on what your goal exactly is with leads, that then may be different again, right? So I think we could do a whole other session on like how to generate leads
We're
with
going to be
Google
here for 2 hours today. It's
Ads.
fine.
You should do a workshop on this. Okay, I'm getting ideas. Okay, Shaima, thank you for that question. I hope you answered it. Awesome. So what I want to do is like a quick dive now into like the top optimization tip for each campaign type. So I just want to like have a quick repetition for everybody who may still be a little bit new to Google Ads. There's basically 5 main campaign types, out of which, let me let one hand disappear, where it's like, how many fingers do you see, right? We have search, we have display, we have video, app, and shopping, right? And then the other campaign types that we have, like smart, performance max, and so on, like that's all like mixtures of these campaign types. So for let's start off with search campaigns because they're really like the broadest campaign type. And even when I work with like my students at the universities where I teach them Google Ads Analytics, I make sure that they really understand a search campaign, because if you understand it, I feel like 80% of the job is already done, and you can apply a lot from that knowledge to the other campaign types, right?
Yeah.
So for search campaign, I know there's a lot of things we can do, but let's focus in on one. What's like one of your favorite optimization tips there?
Okay, so for search campaigns, it's pretty easy. I want you to focus on high intent, high search volume, low cost keywords. So, what I mean about this is when you go into your search campaign, you want to know that the keywords that you're targeting has a lot of intent behind them, right? So, I'll give you an example. If somebody's searching for running shoes, that's very broad. They could mean running shoes for anything. So it's kind of a broad keyword. It's kind of a loose one. If somebody searches for running shoes for women, that is slightly more intent behind it. And you know that that person is really intent on buying running shoes, and you know kind of what gender they identify as. Now, if we really take it a step back, or rather a step deeper, we can go running shoes or marathon running shoes for women. And that's a really good keyword because you know that person's looking for marathon running shoes and you know what gender they identify as well. So you've got a very high chance and a very high likelihood of somebody converting on that. And the reason why I say you also need high search volume is a lot of business owners make this mistake of they tell themselves, oh, I'm in a niche. So 10 searches a month on a keyword, that's more than enough for me. You know, I'm going to get 10 clients and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to build a new store and I'm going to get a new cupboard and I'm going to get married finally. You can't do anything with 10 searches. So you really want to make sure that you have high volume on the keywords that you're targeting, because remember, you're not the only business out there. There's other business owners targeting those same keywords as well. So you want to make sure that you have enough average monthly searches, and you can check this in Google Keyword Planner, and just make sure that you have a good amount. Now, I'd say, putting me on the spot, if you have a niche business, less than 500 searches per month. If you have something that's very broad and everybody understands, more than 500 searches per month, because that's actually going to give you a chance to basically show up often enough to get those leads and get those conversions. And last but not least, you want to also make sure that your keywords are affordable, right? Don't just go and find a whole bunch of keywords that you really can't afford. I see so many people, they've only got $20 to spend per day, but their average cost per click is like $16. Like, really, just go for other keywords that you can afford. It's kind of like going into the grocery store and say, I've only got a $700 budget, so I'm going to buy one meal for $700 and I'm going to starve for the rest of the month. You don't have to do that. There is food at all different prices, so make
Yeah.
sure that you get the keywords that you can actually afford.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And like the cost of a click always depends on your funnel and the price of the product in the end that you're charging customers for the service, for the product or service, right? So to give you an idea on like maybe the other end of the extreme, right? We do have a client who helps people um, pretty much fight off infertility with the help of acupuncture. So they come to her when really no other treatment has helped, right? And she helps them create amazing results, right? Now, of course, that's a very tricky subject with Google to start with. And it's also one that can be very expensive. So for her, it's normal that the cost per click is somewhere around like probably $20 to $30. But that is because she's very much location bound. So she can't accept clients everywhere. But she also has a very high conversion rate once that person clicks on that keyword because it's so specific. Then they schedule a consult and then they become a client. And of course, her treatments are in the four-figure range. So of course, then you're okay with paying a little bit more for a lead because the revenue that you're generating easily justifies that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So number one, search campaigns. Number two, display campaigns. What's your favorite tip there?
Okay, display campaigns, just run away and hide. That's what you should do with display campaigns. If you're brand new to Google Ads and you want to start off with a tough campaign to start off with, then you got to be very careful with display campaigns. So what I
Yeah.
would suggest is, if you're using display campaigns, you've got two paths that you can go down. Number one, start with display campaigns, but use them for retargeting, because they tend to make very good retargeting ads, and you can get very low cost per leads and cost per conversions with retargeting ads if you run a display campaign. If you don't want to go that option and you want to target cold traffic with your display campaigns, then what I suggest you do is keep a very beady eye and a very focused eye on your placements. We tend to notice that a lot of display campaigns are just showing up on like mobile apps and mobile games. And you think you're targeting real people, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got 3,000 clicks on my ad. Oh my gosh, something's about to happen. Meanwhile, you got 5 and 6 year olds playing on their parents' iPhones, and they're
Yeah.
just basically playing games, and accidentally they graze the finger and they go and they click on your ad, and that's literally where all of your budget is going. Just literally 5 and 6 year olds just accidentally clicking on your ads. So what I would do is, if I had a display campaign and somebody put a gun to my head and said, Devin, you have to make this work, the first thing I would do is exclude all mobile apps, exclude every single thing that's app related off of your display ad. You got to get rid of those. The next thing I would do is focus very hard on the aesthetic part of my product. What is the most pleasing thing about my product? So for example, if you're a real estate agent, don't show a picture of you with a for sale sign doing this. Show the ideal outcome that the client would have if they clicked on your ad. So show them what the house on the beach would look like and how beautiful the real estate is in the area. Find that thing that's really beautiful and really aspirational about whatever it is you're selling. Even if it's a vacuum cleaner, there is something that you can find that's very aspirational about it, and make sure your display ad conveys that. That's my number one priority when it comes to display ads.
Yeah, I mean, what comes to me in terms of vacuum cleaners even is like, you could take the example of like a bachelor living his life and having a messy apartment, the picture
Yeah,
before, and then he vacuum cleans and it's nice and he has a great date, right? Because the woman is all happy. So
exactly.
you can
Yeah,
make a story around everything, right? So
exactly. Or you could
yeah,
have something like an ad that says, Get your mother-in-law to smile when she comes to your house, and then have the
Yeah.
vacuum cleaner over there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think excluding those mobile app placements is something that a lot of people miss. And that's where like a lot of money gets wasted. Cause then I think, a lot of agencies would also do that where like they send you an amazing report with like saying you got so and so many impressions. But when you actually look at where those came from, then you'll see, oh, there was a lot of impressions, but from a completely wrong audience. Right. So
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this on stream, but I had one client who got a lot of clicks from hotmoms.com, and she was pretty sure that she didn't want to be advertising on that. So be careful of that website.
yes, yes, you can find everything.
Yeah.
Yes. YouTube campaigns. What's your favorite optimization tip there?
Okay, so with YouTube campaigns, now you gotta be very careful with your YouTube campaigns because there's two components to this, and um, this is where most of people lose the plot. Okay, so it's either they don't pay enough attention to their actual YouTube ad and they focus all their time on optimizing. That's a big mistake. You have to make sure that the ad, the landing page, and your targeting all works together, right? So, in other words, if you have a YouTube ad, don't talk about something in the YouTube ad where the client can't take action immediately. And also, if you have a landing page from that YouTube ad, make sure the landing page is related to actually what's in the YouTube ad. Don't have a YouTube ad about peanut butter. And then when I go to your landing page, I just see jam and I have to search very hard to find what you were talking about in the YouTube ad.
Yeah,
So I would, number one, make sure that you have a really good YouTube ad. That means you get to the point fast because remember, you're interrupting people while they're watching YouTube. So you don't have all the time in the world. You don't have 15 minutes to explain every single thing about your offer. So get to the point as quickly as possible. Explain to them why this is the right ad to click on and why they should take action. And social proof and authority will always help because you're basically explaining to them why they should listen to you and why this thing could be a good thing for them. And you're giving them examples of people who have experienced it before. And once you get that done, the YouTube ad side, right now my favorite is your custom segment targeting because you can target keywords and Devin just likes keywords and every answer he's going to give is about keywords. So yeah, custom segment targeting, for those of you who don't know, you can literally go and show YouTube ads to people that search for specific things in Google. You can just basically show those people YouTube ads. You can target those people basically with YouTube ads. So that's a brilliant way to do it. Yeah, custom segment right now is working for me. Unfortunately, they've taken away keywords, they've taken away placements. There is a place where you can still target it if you really go and you look for it. But my advice to you, simplify your life, focus on your ad, and then after that, focus on your custom segments.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point. And like when you work with custom segments, right? Like try to go in detail, right? So instead of just targeting entrepreneurs, can you target a list of entrepreneurs, right? Like I don't know, Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone and whoever else, right? Whoever fits to your
Yeah.
demographic, right? But so the more specific you can go, the better. Now, shopping campaigns. What's your number one optimization tip there?
Okay, shopping campaigns pretty easily. Money in, money out. The biggest mistake that I see on almost every, and I know we all say, yeah, conversion tracking, we have it down. Every single time that I sit down with a client and we really look at their conversion tracking, most times the conversion tracking isn't sorted out. So
Yeah,
how are you ever gonna know? How are you ever gonna know if you're making money or not if you don't have your
yeah,
conversion tracking set up? It's so
yeah,
basic, right? But it's something that is so crucial and fundamental to running a good Google Ads campaign. Now, a lot of people say, yeah, but Devin, I've got like my Shopify back. I can see how many sales I've made. But when you add conversion tracking, it allows us to see which products are actually doing you a favor and making you money, and which products are actually leading to losses. So it's a very basic tip, very basic optimization tip, but you want to follow the money and you want to make sure that whatever product you're advertising, make sure that there's enough profit margin in there that you can keep on doing this thing sustainably. Don't just run campaigns to your online store and have a couple of shopping ads and not look at the data. So I would just keep it very simple and I would just pay attention to the data. And once you find those products that win, and once you find those products that are actually really doing well, you want to separate them, put them into their own campaign. You can call it your best sellers campaign, and you can pump as much money into that thing as you want, and you will always get a good return on ad spend because you did your homework. But first, you got to do your homework.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people like never really look at their products. Like they just set up the shopping campaign because already like setting up the merchant center and connecting it, like that's already a lot of work if you're fairly new to Google Ads, I would say. So like there's so much you have to do to get to this point that probably a lot of people just like, oh my God, just leave me alone. I hope it just brings me somehow, right? But
Yeah.
it's like if you focus on the right products, you can probably get 5 to 10 times more out of your budget than if you just don't do that. So it's absolutely worth the effort, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think also what a lot of people don't understand is I know that you're trying to run the ad and you just want to see if the ads work. But
Mhm.
okay, worst case scenario, the ads don't work. But what if they do work? How are you
Yeah.
going to know what worked and what didn't work? And this is why conversion tracking is so important, because we
Yeah.
need to know once something works, we need to know so we can repeat it over and over again and get you that success every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, so we covered search, display, YouTube, and shopping. Now, I'm going to chime in with app campaigns because they're, I would say, fairly simple. But the thing is, you can't control them much because a lot of it is really automated by Google Ads in itself, which is a little bit due to the whole nature of the network and the placements and all that. So a lot of the job with a Google Ads app campaign is actually done before you start the campaign by optimizing your entry in the app store, right? And the other thing is when you create a Google Ads app campaign, like a mistake that I see most people make still is not adding as many details as you can to the campaign. And what I mean by details is fill out all the headlines you have available, fill out all the descriptions you have available, add as many pictures as Google asks for, right? Add a video if you can. And the thing is, you don't have to necessarily be a videographer to, or have to hire a videographer to have a video. What you can actually do in Google Ads is if you start a YouTube campaign, it gives you the option to create a video ad within Google Ads with the help of a template. So you just upload an image and a little bit of text, and so you can easily create a video ad for yourself, right? And then you can, of course, use that link in your app campaign as well. So we covered all those 5 campaign types. Any other thing about optimizing campaigns that you really want people to know or be aware of?
Okay, so I just want to let you know that, we look at CTRs and CPAs and we look at CPCs, but at the end of the day, all of these people are human beings. We always forget that. We're so busy focused on the numbers, we're so busy focused on this, but we don't focus on the fact that every click on your website, every click on your ad is a human being. So, what you want to do is whenever you're optimizing something, there's the logical reason why somebody should buy something. Oh, I should buy this because it's good for me. Oh, I should buy this because I'm going to make more money. But there's also an emotional component to it. And great ad campaigns, they hit on both sides. They give you all of the logical reasons to buy something, but they also give you a whole lot of emotional reasons to buy something as well. So, whenever you're optimizing, yes, look at the numbers. The numbers are important, but also don't forget the fact that you're dealing with real human beings. And the more human you can make your campaigns, the more you're going to end up winning in the end. And if you look at every single leading brand or every good ad campaign that you've ever seen, they are using both the logical and they are using the emotional side as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like instead of mentioning, hey, you can buy this only for $49.99, like write about feel sexy for your next date again, right? Impress your loved one with this gift for the next Valentine's Day, which I
Yeah.
just figured is like 2 days ago, but, but
Better late than never.
I know, right? So it's like start thinking about next year already. But yeah, like add an emotional component because people buy emotions, not products, right? So
Exactly.
I'm very, very glad that you brought that up.
Yeah. And
So
and and just one more last thing I want to touch on. Just saying you're gonna get a 10% discount if you join my email newsletter. Just don't.
it doesn't work anymore.
Just
Uh,
try and come up with something a little bit more original than that. Yeah.
yeah, it's been used too much. I think that worked like 10 years ago. It was great, but now people need a different reason. Um, yeah, that's a good point. Um, Awesome. Well, we went a little bit over time, but I'm so happy because this was truly a great conversation. So I'm really, really happy about. Before we finish off, I just want you guys to know that we're hosting a special one-off workshop. Well, I'm hosting that on 23rd of February. If you're watching this in the recording, then most likely we will replace it with a link to a different opportunity. Now, on Feb 23rd, the workshop is all about optimizing your Google Ads campaigns live with me. It's going to be 3 hours where we focus mostly on um, search and YouTube campaigns. I'm going to put the link here in the chat box. And then, of course, we will put it down below, up, whatever, wherever you're watching this. So we'll make sure you have that as well. All right. Thank you so much, Devin. I'm so glad you took the time out of your busy schedule to be here to share these tips. I absolutely second every single thing that you said. So, any final words?
Well, nothing really. I just enjoyed being here, and thank you so much for having me. And it was fun. I enjoyed the questions. So yeah, definitely.
Where can people find you?
Okay, so if you're looking for me, all you have to do is go onto YouTube, just type in Neptune Design, and you will find me right there. Or if you want to work with me directly, you can go to neptunedesign.co.za. That's one word, neptunedesign.co.za. And yeah, you can just come say hi, and we can have a little chat about your ads.
Awesome, wonderful. So, everybody, go ahead, connect with Devin, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you for being here, Devin, and have a good
Great.
rest of today, evening, whenever, wherever you're watching this.